Welcome back to the second segment of the best Glazov gang ever. And we are joined by Jennifer Serrano, Tiffany Gabbay, and Dwight Schultz. Did I pronounce everybody's name properly?
You did.
It's a Canadian-Russian background. It confuses me. Ladies and gentlemen, a little bit of the culture program, but more of a personal background segment here, just so our guests get to know so our viewers get to know our guests a little bit. Let's begin with you, Jennifer.
Okay.
Very briefly, but we're very interested. You were a former leftist, but you somehow ended up working for the Romney campaign, and you were kind of known as a Michelle Bachmann figure there.
Tell
us a little bit about it.
Sort of.
Okay,
I mean, first of all, I was a leftist 20 years ago.
Okay.
So about 25, I registered as a Republican. Never looked back. Gotten more conservative, I think, as the years have passed. But after the first term of Obama, I got it reignited my sort of passion and activism. And so I knew that I was going to jump into I was going to have to be involved. And so not only what happened is I just showed up one day at the campaign office and basically never left. I mean, I was there all day long, 14-hour days, made literally 20,000 calls. Every time I walked in the office, people would come to attention because I was serious. We were on a mission. And it wasn't just for Romney, it was also Tony Strickland and Todd Zink.
Jen, why did Romney fail to win?
Oh, boy.
Give us one reason.
One?
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to surprise people. My top reason that I go to is not about the left. This is my number one reason, that there are plenty of conservatives that did not step up to the plate. I know because I spoke with them, and I know because I met them. They did not vote, believe it or not.
Why didn't they vote?
Sometimes because he is Mormon, or because he's not conservative enough, or he's so conservative he's not going to win. Give this Obama another chance. I mean, it was amazing.
Jen, what happened to Romney in that third debate? I think it was the third one when he should have gone at Obama on Benghazi.
You know, that's a good question. I mean, he did so well initially, but once it got to that debate...
Yeah, what happened? He's trying to be the nice guy or something?
I hate to say it, and it's sort of a double-edged sword. It's great that he's a nice guy, he's a wonderful businessman. I'm not going to put down Mitt Romney. I still respect him. I still think highly. But it was a combination of that, being the nice guy, and to be honest, the RNC. I don't think that the campaign was run well at all. They didn't put out commercials when they should have, when the other guy was. We were late on the game.
They just don't know how to fight political war.
I'm sorry to say it.
Before we move on, one reason why you abandoned the left. What did you come to understand? What was the turning point or one thing?
Okay, well, I mean, literally, I was leaving D.C., flying back to L.A. after I saw Clinton. Believe it or not, I went there. And I started scratching my head thinking, wait, why am I so excited? I got off that high the same way people were on a high with Obama.
Or when you meet me and Dwight and Tiffany. And
well, it was years ago. But yeah. So I questioned it. Now, this is prior to... internet. So I went to the libraries and books. I'm dating myself or whatever. And I looked into it. What was the difference between Democrat and Republican? Where my values and principles lied. And it was very obvious that it was not Democratic because I educated myself. And it was incredibly obvious.
You were a brain-dead liberal, I guess.
I was indoctrinated. Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Jen. A great honor and privilege to have you aboard.
Thank you.
Tiffany. Tell us a little bit about your background, and I'm very interested as well. You spent a couple years in Britain, some years back, and with Pamela Geller and Robert Spencer being banned from England now from the UK, what's happening there? You also have a little bit of an insight on that. Tell us a little bit.
Okay, well, I'll give you a quick background on myself. I mean, I'm a New Yorker, born and bred, essentially, but conservative my entire life. Brooklyn.
Oh, okay.
Brooklyn, actually. And but my entire family is conservative. My dad was an Israeli war hero who actually, my father and his entire family fled Nazi-fueled persecution and massacres in Iraq, where my family is actually from. And a lot of people don't know that the Nazis were actually conspiring with the imams and the muftis way back when, actually, and that there were a lot of Jewish communities in Arab countries that were exiled because of that. But anyway, that was always
and nobody pays any attention to that.
Nobody even knows that or talks about it. When they talk about a right of return for the Palestinians, it's interesting. Like you never hear any of the Sephardic or Middle Eastern Jewish community speak of the same things.
Yeah.
But that was always kind of what fueled my politics. My family was always very involved, and they really educated me. When I was impressionable youth, kind of college age, I was an Anglophile, and I wanted to be a writer, and I was in love with Shakespeare and all of my other literary idols.
Very educated new gang member.
I just felt like, I wanted to live there and I wanted to study there, and I did. My parents thought I was crazy. We were
and
all
we
like,
don't think that.
we were devoutly patriotic Americans, but at this, my dad's like, well, why do you want to go there? I'll send you to Israel instead. I said, no, I want to be a writer. And I ended up spending a number of years in the UK on and off. But one of the things that I found, and was ultimately what led to my return to the US, was that I did see the politics. That the secular progressivism, leftism, anti-Israel sentiment, anti-Semitism, which you see even its subtle and not so subtle ways. And that was based on one of the articles that I wrote about today.
Tiffany, are the British in general kind of anti-Semitic? Could you say that?
Yeah, I would say that there is definitely a tinge of it overall. And, we all hate to make blanket statements. I have some of my best friends are British, and I had wonderful experiences with the people there.
But there's anti-Semitism embedded in the culture.
Well, right. It's just a part of, in Europe in general, there is just kind of a more arcane sense of who the Jewish people are, and they very much are a minority there, whereas here, the community is just more prevalent.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. Great to have you aboard. But it's interesting. When you're anti-Semitic and you pride yourself on your leftism and multiculturalism, there's a price to pay for that.
Absolutely.
And I think the price being paid today is videos of the UK police running away from mobs of Muslim protesters. It's crazy what's happening in that country.
It is absolutely insane. I think it's a disgrace, and that was one of the things that I wrote about today.
Excellent. And watch for Tiffany Gabbay's articles at frontpagemag.com. We have a great intellectual writer aboard. Great to have you, Tiffany. Dwight, do you want to maybe comment on what Jen and Tiffany have said about themselves? Because I think that's more interesting than anything about you, really.
Yes, you've shot me down. You really have. What
do you want to?
First of all, let me just say, I just think it's wonderful. The stories are. I am always educated when I'm on this program, and I always meet wonderful people here because of you, Jamie. Yes, it's all because of you. It is actually because you are the one who invites the guests, along with your lovely engaged producer now.
A little bit more.
Not to you. Oh,
okay.
For you, unfortunately. But I always love to come here because of the people that I meet and the connections that I've made. And we need, as I attended Scalia was speaking at a group, and he talked about the Federalist Society and how it started, because there were these conservative judges in the midst of all these liberals, and how important it was to get together with people who have like minds. Not to close your mind to the rest, but you need to be, otherwise you become isolated.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's important about this.
Thank you, Dwight. Why are you temporarily not losing weight after losing weight for many weeks in a row?
Well, because of my daughter's wedding, there's been a lot of things happening where food had to be consumed.
Okay.
However, I am now going back to the process of continuing to lose weight.
Okay, what's this thing about squeezing plump grapes in vineyards?
It's just something that I get out of my car when I'm driving north,
Right.
see a vineyard,
Yeah.
and I see a lot of other people in the vineyard,
Right.
and I go out into the vineyard and I just touch the grapes, and every once in a while I'll find the largest one with my eyes closed and squeeze it. That's
Okay.
it. It's a very aesthetic and erotic thing to do.
Sometimes creepy things happen on this show.
You'll believe anything.
And that word
That's the other
creepy,
reason
as we
I
know,
say it.
was used in the Zimmerman trial recently. Let us move on to, I think, a defeat for Obama in some way, the Obamacare setback. Now, all of a sudden, the government is postponing enforcement of the so-called employer mandate until 2015. There's some people giggling about this, and it looks like a defeat. Maybe he's waiting to have an election first, because if he forces it in now,
Really?
everybody's going
Do you sing?
to, everybody's going to lose their jobs.
I'm shocked.
Okay, what's your analysis of this, Jen? Obamacare setback.
I mean, this is actually pretty simple. I mean, it's basically what you said. It's convenience, and yes, it is. They already are fundraising for 2016, and so just push it back. I mean, everybody knows, including them, that Obamacare is a mess. It doesn't matter what they try to, express, and so, I mean, it makes it easier. And it makes it easier on them because they always look at the big picture. Everything is always about, okay, let's see if we can do. I mean, seriously, I think they're in a room. Okay, so let's just push this back. Okay, to 2015.
But isn't this
and
kind of
that's
pathetic?
just the primaries will be happening, and then good, and then boom, and then we'll just bring in our next guy or girl.
Are you saying this is a political strategy?
Of course, yes. Everything that they do is.
What if a
political.
believer of Obamacare is really saying, oh, they just need one more year to organize it all? No?
Well, then anybody who's actually going to think that and say that, I don't even know where to go with that. Their head.
Okay, Jen, is Obamacare going to hurt this country?
Of course, it already has. The economy and jobs
they're trying
are
to
lost.
postpone that
Yes.
to get right. Okay,
Yes.
Tiffany, I'm sounding very
No.
naive and incredulous. Go ahead.
I mean, Aetna and United Healthcare have already left California. They're running for the hills. I mean, employers are already laying off people or not growing their companies because they are terrified of this mandate. So Obamacare has already had the disastrous effects. Everybody, was kind of half a brain
But
knew
wait,
it
Tiffany,
would.
how did this even pass? It is such a disaster.
Because we didn't know what was in it.
Yeah, who's
Nobody
going
knew
to
what
read
was
a
in it.
tome
This
like
is
that?
even better.
They
It
knew
was
it. It's
hidden.
4
There's
years.
layers.
But if Tiffany just said it. If they follow through, the number of people who are going to find themselves only temporarily employed because the employers don't want them, they don't want to. It's just going to be astonishing what happens to voters. All of a sudden, they're going to say, "Oh, I didn't know that."
Okay, just a sec.
Wait till people have to pay 3.5 or 3.75% of the sale of their house to Obamacare. They don't even know that. People don't. There were 40% of the public didn't know that they were going to have to buy their own health care. They didn't know because there's no one knew to tell them, and Obama didn't want to tell them. They put it off.
Okay, what's the bad part about this?
The bad part is Republicans aren't going to stand up and really nail him. That's the
Okay,
bad part.
just a sec. Wait,
Yeah.
wait. Okay, wait. Why, Jen? Why won't Republicans do this?
Are you
Again,
kidding? The
failure.
establishment, Republicans don't do. They are so incredibly weak on everything.
Why?
Is this going to? That's an excellent question.
Why do
it's
you
like
think?
they don't hold the conservatism, which is what the Republicans are supposed to be about, somewhere got lost along the way. Okay, it's kind of like, to me, it's like if you're Democrats are liberal, Republicans. Democrats are very liberal and Republicans are liberal. That's how it is.
So what do we do?
Coming to
Start
that
a new
point.
party or what? What's happened to the Republican
Well,
Party? How about even on immigration?
That's a
With
problem.
Tiffany?
With regard to
Well, no, let's know. Obamacare first. What do you think about this whole thing, the setback?
No, I mean, I think it's absolutely a strategized political move. Obviously, they want to wait until elections before any of the really negative effects are seen, even though people like us can see the negative effects from a mile away. And the people who did support Obamacare, they're under this impression that there's a free lunch somewhere, when in fact, no, there are never any free lunches. You are going to pay for it, and dearly, somewhere along the line.
But just wait. Okay, Tiffany, is something just very simple for maybe people who don't understand it completely, including myself that's from Canada. Companies are going to stop hiring people, right?
Yes.
Because it's going to be so expensive to have new workers.
Exactly. If you have a certain number of employees, you're mandated, which means otherwise you are penalized around $3,000 per employee for not providing those
So
employees
why
health
hire a new
insurance.
person? Because it's just
Right.
going to take money out of the business.
Exactly.
But what
Exactly.
kind of person with a right brain, with a thinking brain would make a policy like this, knowing about the business of a country?
And here's another thing that's happening. The mandate basically states, insurers have to cover everyone regardless of pre-existing conditions or this, that, or the other thing. So what are insurance companies going to do? They're going to find a way to get it back on the other end. So they're giving you far less in terms of coverage. It's costing more than ever. You do have insurance companies like Aetna and United Healthcare leaving states like California, and it's
Should I go back
I-
to Canada?
No.
No? Okay.
But I just want to say
Dwight,
this
go
one
ahead.
thing. Congress has an obligation right now to create a constitutional crisis because they passed a bill And the president is saying, the executive branch is saying, oh, we're putting it off. They can't. They can't just do it. I mean, they have decided not to support congressional law. But this is a law now. And the executive branch is unilaterally saying, we're not going to enforce the law. We're going to change it, just like he did with immigration. Congress has an obligation to stand up and say, you can't change the law. That's not in the Constitution for you, Mr. President. And I want to hear somebody in the Congress of the United States say it.
Liberals will fight tooth and nail, though, because at the end of the day, they don't really care if Obamacare works or it doesn't. They now have control of 1/6 of the nation's economy, and that's all they care about.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's all, everything that Dwight's saying, it's irrelevant. It really doesn't matter.
But, okay, now, what needs to happen in 2014? I think, am I being right? We have to save this country.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Obamacare,
Right.
this
Yes.
attack on coal, for instance. I
Yes,
mean,
right.
everything is just fitting together. How does the country... Look, I'm even
War
going to
on
say,
coal.
as a Canadian... No, that's what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
as a Canadian in the United States, I'm actually quite worried. I love this country. I came here. What's going to happen in 2014
I
if
don't-
we don't... if conservatives don't succeed?
See, I can't even, okay, when you ask me that question, honest to goodness, the very first thing, I mean, it's not even just a knee jerk, it's something I've thought about and lied awake at night, whatever. Anyways.
That's
the
why
thing
you're
is-
reading United in Hate when you can't
Yes,
sleep,
I
right?
am. It's excellent. I
Okay.
do read that. But say that question one more time, and I'm going to tell you exactly what it made me think.
What's going to happen if,
Yes.
if
Okay.
if Obama
Okay.
destroys Republicans
If-
in 2014?
That can't happen. And the thing is, I know that a lot of people, there's a lot of buzz about, breaking off into a third party and all of that, but I can't even go with the if. I think that there's going to be a lot that's going to uncover before that happens.
Well,
We
I'll
just
go with
can't-
the if. I heard the graduate students and professors strategizing in academia for years. They want to destroy the United States.
Right.
They're being very successful in doing it. Dwight?
Well, I agree.
Can't allow
I
it.
agree. I think the only thing, if we do not, if the Tea Party doesn't become involved and demand their representatives to do what you were elected to do, and that is your congressional duty, and force the executive branch to abide by the law. Because the Constitution isn't worth the paper it's written on. It's only worth anything because people shed their blood to defend it. If it becomes a useless document, which is what Obama, then we have a very serious problem with no one obeying the law. It will become a lawless country very quickly.
Yeah,
It really will.
I just
Tyranny.
want to add that when I was in
Tyranny.
graduate school and I heard the grad students talking, the leftists, and they would say, the welfare, see, we just keep
Yeah.
getting the welfare going up and up and up, and then it'll collapse the capitalist system.
right.
The whole thing is strategized. Tiffany, last wise words go to you.
Wise words. I don't think I could have, said it better than that, and especially in terms of Obamacare.
Okay, so no, but
No,
anyway,
really,
but
that's the
last words
truth.
of wisdom.
Words of wisdom, I think it's just people say, is this just a foregone conclusion? And I think that's why Republicans are, obviously they are too nice. They never fight back. And I think a lot of things, they look at them as foregone conclusions. Obamacare, this demographic, that demographic. Why should we bother reaching out? But Republicans really have to toughen up. And obviously that's what David Horowitz always talks about, right?
That's right.
Republicans have to learn bad manners and
Yeah,
learn how to
and they
fight
don't-
back a little
Right.
They
bit.
just
They're
don't know
not
how. We got to go on a scale of 1 to 10. How excited were you to be on the Glazov game, Jen?
Scale from 1 to 10?
Yeah.
10.
Dwight? Tiffany?
3.
Jen, Dwight, and Tiffany, thank you for joining the Glazov gang. We'll see you next week.